Today we'll talk about test planning in software testing. So how we can plan to test any software. So we'll see first the objective and scopes. So define the purpose and goals of the testing effort. And also we need to clearly outline what will and what will not be tested. And also set the expectation for what the testing process aims to achieve. So for example, in a mobile app testing project, the objective could be to ensure that app function flawlessly on both Android and the iOS devices. The scope might include the testing various functionalities like user registration, logging, different navigation and the payment processing. Then we'll talk about the test strategy, like describe overall approach to testing considering the fact like the project's nature, risk and the timeline. Identify the testing level as well, like at unit testing, integration testing or system acceptance and their sequence. Also specify which types of testing will be conducted, like functional testing, performance testing or security testing. So for example, like for a web application, the test strategy could involve conducting both manual functional testing and the automated regression testing. The strategy might prioritize functional testing in the initial phase and focus on performance and security testing in the later stages. Then we'll talk about the test environment, like detail the and hardware or software and different network configuration required for testing. Address any tools like any framework or any third party services needed to execute the test. Also make sure that the test environment mirrors the production environment as closely as possible. Like if you are testing a new version of any e-commerce website, the test environment should replicate the production environment with the same database or server configuration and the software version to ensure accurate results. Then we have test schedule. Yeah, define the testing timeline, including the starting date, end dates, or for each testing phase. Also account for any dependency on team or activities. Make sure, like if you are dependent on any other teams, uh, then allocate the time for test preparation, execution, and defect fixing. So it's for example, like in software development project with 6 month timeline, the test schedule could allocate 2 weeks for each testing phase, like functional integration, system and acceptance testing, ensure ensuring sufficient time for throughout the testing. Then resource allocation. Specify the roles and responsibilities of each team members involved in the testing. Like allocate the resources for tasks such as creation, test execution, and the reporting. Also identify the individual responsible for managing the test environment, data, and the tools. Like for a mobile app testing project, like the allocation could involve like assigning one tester to focus on Android device and the another tester to focus on iOS devices. Additionally, a tester might be designated to manage the test environments and ensure they are prepared before testing begins. Then the test schedules. uh, I think we have already covered test schedules. Okay, resource allocation is done. Okay, then we have risk management. To identify the potential risk and their impact on the testing process, like rank risk based on their severity and likelihood of occurrence. Plan mitigation strategy for high priority risk. Like in a banking software project, a high priority risk could be security vulnerabilities leading to unauthorized access. The mitigation strategy might involve conducting through security testing and engaging a third party security expert for an audit. Test data management, like determine the test data required for a different test scenarios, address how to generate, collect, and manage the test data, ensure that data privacy and security considered are met. Test deliverables. So list the document that will be produced as a part of testing efforts like test cases, test scripts, traceability metrics, and etc. Specify the format and content for each deliverables. So list the document that will produce as a part of testing efforts like test cases, test scripts, traceability metrics, and also specify the formats and content for each deliverables. So here we can say, like for example, the test deliverables could include a test plan document, test case specifications, test scripts, and a traceability matrix linking requirements to test cases and test summaries report at the end of the testing phase. Then defect management. Describe the process of identifying, reporting, tracking, and resolving the defects. Outline the defect severity and priority levels. Details how defect reporting and communication will occur. For example, during testing, if a defect is identified, it is reported in a defect report that includes details like the steps to reproduce, expected versus actual results, and the screenshots. The development team then fixes the defect, and after verification, the status is updated in the report. Entry and exit criteria. So define the condition that must be met before testing can begin, like prerequisite or precondition. Specify the condition that signify the completion of a testing. So for example, like entry criteria could be stipulate that testing can start once the code is frozen and reviewed. Exit criteria might require that all high priority defects are fixed, regression testing is completed, and the test summary report is prepared before the testing phase is considered complete. Change management. So address how change to the requirements or the application will be managed during the testing. Describe the process for updating the test documentation when the change occur. For example, in an agile project, if there is a change in a user story, the test plan should describe how the updated requirements will be communicated to the testing team, how the test cases will be modified, and how the regression testing will be performed. Communication plan. Outline how information will be shared among the team members, stakeholders, and the management. Also specify the frequency and format of status update, progress reports, and the issue escalation. So, for example, like the communication plan might specify the daily stand-up meeting will be held to discuss testing progress, and a weekly status report will be sent to stakeholders summarizing achievements, issues, and the next steps. Approval and the sign off is the final. So identify the individual's roles and responsible for reviewing and approving the test plan. Also include a section for obtaining formal sign off once the test plan is finalized. So once the test plan is finalized, it is sent to the project manager or QA lead or the required person and other relevant stakeholders for the review and approval. Once they sign off, testing can be proceed as a plan. So that's for today. Thank you.